Right, we're live. What is up, everyone? Yeah, gonna do a video on Aldous Huxley today, or a stream, I guess. I feel like I've been doing the same sorts of people. I feel like it's been a repeat of Osho, Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts, Jung, people like that. Um, I don't know. I'll probably start doing new things. Maybe I devote several days to a certain idea. I don't know. I'm kind of playing it by ear. But yeah, what's up, Ashley? How's it going? Be sad. I thought you were sleeping.
In his 1958 book, Brave New World Revisited, Aldous Huxley wrote the following: If the first half of the 20th century was the era of the technical engineers, the second half may well be the era of the social engineers, and the 21st century, I suppose, will be the era of world controllers, the scientific caste system, and Brave New World.
So, damn, you're mad at me now. That's crazy. Um, the weird thing to me is that Brave New World was written in 1932, far before there was the concept of mass pharmaceuticals, far before there was the concept of SSRIs and the mass distraction, the mass entertainment that we see of today. And that's probably where you have to give credit to Huxley the most, because that's his most inspiring, or not inspiring, it's demoralizing, but his most interesting conclusion, his most interesting prediction. And obviously, we don't have flying cars like we do in the book, but I mean, it's still very weird.
30 years prior to penning these words, Huxley wrote his classic work of fiction, Brave New World. Set in the distant future, this book depicts a scientifically managed dystopian society. In Brave New World, the ruling authorities attain mass compliance not through force, but by supplying the masses with endless streams of distracting entertainment, and manipulating them with drugs.
So, Brave New World's different from 1984 because it does it through subversion. So it does it through distraction and making you not understand that you're being controlled. Hint, hint, wink, wink. What is happening in this world today? But I don't think it's particular for this day and age. I think this is something that's always been happening. If you look at the death of Socrates, I mean, the reason why Socrates was ultimately put on trial and told to drink poison was because Socrates was making people question things. He was breaking down the paradigms. He was breaking down the power systems, the powers that be, and God forbid that happens.
And other technological methods. Huxley wrote Brave New World as a warning. Advances in science and technology, he believed, were paving the way for the type of society depicted in this book, and he cautioned that if a Brave New World type of order solidifies, it could be the final.
So Huxley wasn't opposed to technology, but Huxley was opposed to technology at the expense of human beings. He thought that there was a trade-off, and this trade-off oftentimes isn't understood or recognized. Like, we all know phones are an amazing technology if you live halfway across the world and you want to talk to your loved one, but they're also the biggest cause of the mental health crisis we see today. So it's really interesting to see that something that could be so good is used for such bad things is the root of a lot of people's issues. And this is really what Huxley's talking about. It's the inventions, it's the progress of science, but not recognizing the moral conundrums.
Or ultimate revolution. The people will have their liberties taken from them, but they will enjoy their servitude and so never question it, let alone rebel. In a 1962 interview at Berkeley University, Huxley
Think about it like this, like Huxley says, love your servitude. And this is the idea that things are going to get so comfortable, things are going to get so good that you're going to have the wool pulled over your eyes. That whatever it is that we think is societal progress is really societal control. And think of social media algorithms. I think this is the perfect analogy. social media is where free speech goes to die because in social media, you're pushed down a reality tunnel. You're pushed down a loop. You're pushed down into a certain set of beliefs, and it unconsciously influences you to believe what you believe. And it's a very weird idea, but it's like we can technically say what we want and have it seen by more people than ever. But what we're saying is so sanitized. What we're saying is so corporatized. What we're saying is so pushed into the same this side or this side that it's not really freedom because I mean if you're grouping up all of humanity into two sides, then I think you're vastly oversimplifying the human spirit. But
Explained. It seems to me that the nature of the ultimate revolution with which we are now faced is precisely this: that we are in the process of developing a whole series of techniques which will enable the controlling oligarchy, who have always existed and will always exist, to get people to love their servitude. According
so think about taking away your agency, thinking about taking away the things that you might not necessarily like doing, but gives you control over yourself. So driving for yourself, there's a big movement for self-driving cars. When there's a self-driving car, then you can't speed, then you can't go through a yellow light, then you can't stop and pull over when you need to stop and pull over. Like there's going to be all of these things. There's all of these trade-offs that every single invention, every single creation will slowly take more and more and more agency away from you. This is the juxtaposition of what Emerson was talking about in self-reliance. Emerson's self-reliance is about doing things even if they're hard, but you do them for the sake of you being in control of everything in your life, you being in control of your destiny.
to Huxley, this brave new world totalitarianism was most likely to solidify in the 21st century. And so in this video we are going to examine whether Huxley's predictions are coming true.
I think
Do we live in a
Huxley,
brave new world? In Brave New World Revisited,
so Huxley was actually George Orwell's tutor for a short time, and they never really talked much personally. They never really had a lot of course. I think that connection is interesting. But I think what Orwell gets wrong with 1984 is the use of force. I think when you use force, you would have to use so much of it that it would become ineffective. Whereas Huxley, if you convince people to vote against their interest, if you convince people that what's good for them is really bad, then you can over time chip away at what it means to be an individual. And when you destroy the individual, you destroy the resistance.
Huxley wrote the following: In 1931, when Brave New World was being written, I was convinced that there was still plenty of time. The completely organized society, the scientific caste system, the abolition of free will by methodical conditioning, the servitude made acceptable by regular doses of chemically induced happiness. These were coming, all right, but not in my time, not even in the time of my grandchildren. 27 years later, I feel a good deal less optimistic than I did when I was writing Brave New World. The prophecies made in 19
The weirdest part about Huxley is like the direction he went after writing Brave New World. Like you read Brave New World and you're like, wow, this is a very interesting book, but you don't expect Huxley to become basically a mystic by the end of his life. And this is what you see in his last book, Island, which is basically the antidote to Brave New World, which is basically his response to how would he set up a society if he wanted it to be perfect. It has some very interesting ideas and it talks about a lot of things I've just been saying, but again, I think you should read it yourself.
1931 are coming true much sooner than I thought they would. The nightmare of total organization has emerged from the safe, remote future and is now awaiting us, just around the next corner. In Brave New World, advances in psychology made it possible for the ruling authorities to use mind control to condition citizens from an early age to think and behave in ways that were submissive and conformist. Nearly 100 years after Huxley wrote his dystopian novel, has this type of conditioning left the realm of fiction and entered
I think we're more conditioned today than we ever have been. Um, and if you don't believe you're conditioned, then you're an idiot. That's all I have to say to you. Like, your non-conditioning, your non-conformity is a form of conditioning or a form of conformity. And it's like ironic that people can't see themselves as exactly what they're talking about, exactly what they're pointing out and saying is wrong with the world. It's very weird that like you go far enough around like the political sphere, you point and you're in the exact same position as the other person.
reality? Today, the art of mind control is in the process of becoming a science, Huxley wrote in 1958. The practitioners of this science know what they are doing and why. They are guided in their work by theories and hypotheses solidly established on a massive foundation of experimental evidence. While the idea of mind control may sound like science fiction, in the mid to late 20th century, many prominent philosophers, psychologists, and scientists joined Huxley in
If you don't believe in mind control, then it's not like this. I mean, there's probably people that claim they can do it insidiously, but it's not something aside from telling someone something enough times and them eventually believing it. If you look at the origins of psychology, Freud and Jung both started out as hypnotherapists. Like there is some, I don't know if you call it shady, but there's just some realities of things that like human beings are susceptible to their environments. Human beings are susceptible to programming. It doesn't have to be bad. It could be good as well. It could be inspiring ideas, but like you're slowly being influenced by the things around you. And if you don't believe that people are actively trying to take advantage of this, then you don't know what advertisers are, or you don't know what marketers are. If you watch the Super Bowl is not trying to get you to go out and immediately buy that product. The Super Bowl wants to put that ad in front of you enough times and give that brand recognition enough just real estate in your brain that for the rest of your life you respect that brand, and when you see that brand you're like, oh, there's that, let me buy it this time. It's like a very, very insidious method or scheme or motivation. It's weird when you get into these concepts.
sounding the alarm bell that research into the fundamentals of this phenomenon were well underway. In 1953, the distinguished British philosopher Bertrand Russell explained, "It is to be expected that advances in physiology and psychology will give governments much more control over individual mentality than they now have even in totalitarian countries." The renowned 20th century American clinical psychologist Carl Rogers warned that the rapid development of the behavioral sciences, which is a cluster of scientific
So think about it as the institutionalization of all these things. um there's been many academics that have gone against what the consensus is, and they're basically ostracized. They can't get jobs, they can't get their research funded. So it's really, I don't think it's like one big group, but I think it's just the natural progress of things, and I think it's the natural um end stages of a bureaucracy, end stages of any sort of society or community that's too rigid.
disciplines, including psychology, psychiatry, sociology, social psychology, anthropology and biology, economic and political science, mathematics, and statistics, was in the process of becoming what he called an if-then science. By this, he meant that scientists and social engineers were discovering that if carefully constructed conditions are implemented in a society, then there is a high probability that the majority of citizens will respond
So this is something Thomas Sowell talks about. He says a lot of the social engineers treat human beings like chess pieces, or they treat them like blocks of wood, that if you give them circumstances, they're always going to behave this way. But as we know, human nature is human nature. I mean, we could go to the Russian saying during Soviet Union. They pretend to pay us, we pretend to work. It's like there's there's no such thing as an ideal individual. There's no such thing as an individual that's not going to, in some way, serve their own interest. And this is what the social scientists are trying to get out of humanity, but I don't think it ever will be.
to these conditions in predictable and hence controllable ways. Or as he wrote in 1954, "I believe that too few people are aware of the extent, the breadth, and the depth of the advances which have been made in recent decades in the behavioral sciences. The increasing power for control which it gives will be held by someone or some group. Such an individual or group will surely choose the purposes or goals to be achieved, and most of us will then be increasingly controlled by means so subtle we will not even be aware of them as controls. It appears that some form of completely controlled
So I'm not saying this is necessarily wrong, but like in the past 10 years, I don't know if this is just me, but think of how many times you've seen the word mental health. And like, there's obviously people that genuinely struggle with mental health, and I really hope they get the help they need. But there's also a lot of people that now that this word is so commonly used, now that it's something that's so out there, I think people are using it as a crutch to say this is why I don't like my life. And meanwhile, it's like there's a certain element to your life where you shouldn't be extremely happy. There has to be ups and downs. There has to be good and bad. There has to be ebbs and flows. There has to be challenge. There has to be struggle. That's the only way we move forward. But I think through the overuse of these words, the overprescription of these drugs, we really created a people that aren't as resilient as they should be. And again, I'm not saying that there's people that don't need these things. I'm just saying that I don't think there should be an over reliance on it like we do have today, because I think it one diminishes the people that actually experience these things, and two, it keeps people in the same place that otherwise could be much stronger, much more capable.
Society is coming. In a report released in 2021, scientists on a subcommittee of the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies in the UK admitted to using totalitarian mind control tactics to obtain mass compliance. One scientist went as far as to state that he was stunned by the weaponization of behavioral psychology over the last 5 years.
Okay, if you guys want to know how deep this goes, Aleister Crowley, like one of the most famous, like, I mean, it depends who you ask. He's either a white magician or a black magician, but he was employed by MI5. I think that's what it is. If I just said that James Bond one, I'm an idiot. Don't get mad at me. But he was employed by them for um, propaganda during World War II, and it's like, what is what like why are these just facts? Why are these things that actually happen? Why is it not like pure conjecture? It's very weird.
While another admitted, "You could call psychology mind control. That's what we do. Clearly, we try and go about it in a positive way, but it has been used nefariously in the past.
You don't believe psychology's been used nefariously, then you have not paid attention to the ads that are put in front of you. I was saying this about 5 minutes ago, but ads are basically manipulating your psychology to get you to buy a product. It's literally what an ad is. And again, it's not always a bad thing. It's if it's a good product and it's good price, then fair enough. But how many junk products have been massive successes purely because of their psychology? Like the shake weight might be the best example of a terrible product that just made boatloads of money for the obvious reasons, but it's like it's so weird when you read psychology books and they read like the 48 laws of power.
Psychology has been used
Marketing
for wicked
books,
ends,
bad.
along with conditioning the thoughts and behaviors of the citizens.
I've read like several marketing books, and I'm just like, I don't even want to use these things. I don't want to apply these things because I would feel so bad about it. Like the number one thing a marketing book will tell you is you don't need a good product, you need a good offer. That's and that's how businesses run. Businesses run off the idea that we can sell the most shit product ever, and the only thing that matters is the marketing. And that should tell you everything you need to know about the current world. That should tell you everything you need to know about the current economy is that there's no integrity behind it. There's nothing of substance behind it. It's pure profit driven.
In Brave New World, the latest in technology is used by the ruling authorities to provide the population with non-stop distractions of the most fascinating nature. The purpose of this readily available entertainment was twofold. Firstly, to ensure that the citizens did not pay attention to political and social realities, and secondly, to promote docility and stupidity, and thus create a population that cared little for freedom. Is something similar happening today? Whether intentional
So this is something I've noticed in myself and I've noticed in many other people is, are you capable of being bored? Are you capable of sitting still? Are you capable of doing nothing? And I'm not saying doing nothing like turning on the TV because that's something. That's not pure boredom. There's something stimulating you. Are you capable of sitting in a room? Are you capable of going on a walk? Are you capable of being outside without anything? If the answer to that is no, you have a lot of work to do because truly pure genius can only come from boredom. Pure genius can only come from that conscious awareness that we get when there's nothing else to think about and the idea just pops into our head. If you don't understand what intuition can do for you, understand this. Tesla and Einstein attributed all of their inventions and discoveries to intuition. Tesla had such a good understanding of his mind that he would get an idea, there would be a blueprint in his head. You would see an image of a blueprint and write it down on paper, and boom, there's the invention. Like that's that's a level that's almost psychic. That's a level that most palm readers would love to have. And it's purely from your ability to focus, it's purely from your ability to be honed in on an idea, but we can't have this level of focus, this level of awareness, this level of presence without the capability to be bored. So next time you're bored, put your phone down and just sit there. Next time you're bored, meditate. Next time you're bored, go on a walk. Do something that isn't pure dopamine rush. Do something that isn't going to give you that instant gratification. And slowly over time, you're going to start developing this deeper and higher level of intellect. I think that's probably something that I'm going to start working on more and more now because I'm have a lot more free time for at least a month or two. But you know, that said, hopefully I keep to that. But yeah.
Intentionally imposed on society or not, one thing is certain. Technology and the endless supply of stimulating, yet morally degrading entertainment that flows from it is creating a passive, ignorant, and spiritually crippled population uninterested in resisting the implementation of its political chains, just as Huxley warned. As the art and science of manipulation come to be better understood, the dictators of the future will doubtless learn to combine techniques of propaganda with the non-stop distractions which, in the West, are now threatening to drown in a sea of irrelevance.
Think of a massive news story, how fast it's out of the news cycle. Like it could be earth news, it could be something that is so profound that it shakes up the entire economy, it shakes up the world for a set amount of time, and no one talks about it after 2 weeks. And that should show you the level of distraction. That should show you the level of care. What's up, X before YZ? How's everything? Finally here, man. Can't believe it.
The rational information
You better not leave to go to class.
essential to the maintenance of individual
This is
liberty.
this is your only class for
But
now.
it is not just an endless supply of distractions which make possible a brave new world. Huxley also predicted that in the future, certain forms of technology would be used to increase the suggestibility and obedience of a population, so that everyone can be depended upon to behave almost as predictably as machines. In Brave New World, the technology used for this purpose was called hypnopadia, or sleep.
So this is an interesting idea, and this should tell you just how receptive we are. This is an idea you'll understand if you've read Jung at all, because Jung says that everything that's ever happened surrounding us, we're cognizant of, we're aware of, but we can't remember it. And basically what Huxley talks about in the book is there's these kids teaching or these kids sleeping, and while they're sleeping, there's like a mantra telling them like, this is who you are if you're in this social caste. This is who you are if you're in this one. This is your job. This is your duty. This is why we need you in society. This is why this person is lesser. And it's a very almost like haunting thing because you realize that the kids when they wake up they accept these ideas. The kids when they wake up these are things that are ingrained in them, and that over years and years and years of programming like this it becomes who they are. But this can work for you on the inverse. So like there's all of these they call it like sleep meditations videos that are going to give you like positive affirmations when you sleep. I like using those. You immediately wake up feeling better. There's also the thing that if you fall asleep with an audiobook and you wake up and you try to read the book the next day or listen to the book, you retain it better because you already have that information somewhere in your unconscious. It's so weird. But just think of the idea like this. If you're surrounded by people and they affect you on a subtle level, does that not mean that your receptors, your body, your senses pick up the stimulus from all around you at all times? That's the idea.
Teaching, which Huxley called the greatest moralizing and socializing force of all time. Every night, while asleep, citizens were exposed to propaganda and repeated suggestions from the state. Huxley based his idea of sleep teaching on the science of hypnosis. Scientists have long known that when an individual is placed under hypnosis, alpha waves are activated in the brain, just as they are when in a light sleep. In both cases, suggestibility is dramatically heightened. As Huxley explained, most of the things that can be done with and to a person in hypnotic trance can be done with and to a person in light sleep. Verbal suggestions can be passed through the cortex to the midbrain, the brainstem, and the autonomic nervous system. If these suggestions are well conceived.
This is something that I'd be interested to study more, but I've always just like accepted it. But this is cool to see that there's actually some scientific backing. I thought it was purely a, I don't know, if metaphysical or
And frequently repeated, new patterns of feeling can be installed and old ones modified. Post hypnotic commands can be given, slogans, formulas, and trigger words deeply ingrained in the memory. While not subjects of sleep teaching, many people in the modern world watch television on a near daily basis for hours on end. Scientists
even if it's on in the background, it's still affecting you. It's the same thing with music. Even if you're not listening to the music, it's still seeping into your brain. It's affecting your conception of the world. This is why it's so dangerous to listen to modern day music. Not saying that like the 60s, 70s, 80s didn't have weird themes as well, but I think it was Plato said that music should be banned because it could be so disastrous, it could be so poisonous, but it could also be so uplifting. And like if you don't believe me, play classical music for an hour and tell me the mood you're in. Tell me the thoughts you're having. There's certain types of themes, harmonics, sounds, vibrations that will uplift you, and there's certain kinds that will degenerate you. We can kind of tell based off of what we hear, what will do that and what will not.
have known for decades that television watching activates alpha waves in the brain, thus placing the individual in a hypnotic-like trance, primed for suggestions and ready to be programmed. The neurosurgeon Adam Lipson explains. There have been EEG studies that demonstrate that television watching converts the brain from beta wave activity to alpha waves, which are associated with a daydreaming state and a reduced use of critical thinking skills. When in a
Is
television
Island
induced
Boys
hypnotic state,
dangerous?
cliches and
No, Island Boys is like they are like the most intellectual rappers you will ever listen to, and dude, I've never seen people fall off so fast that was just like that was weird to me. Like they seem like just I don't know, they seem like just like people that like are oblivious to the world around them, and I kind of feel bad because I feel like everyone makes fun of them and they don't know why, but it is what it is, man. That's like there's a ton of people that just get made fun of by the internet that don't really deserve it, but like I mean they kind of do in a sense because they kind of egg it on, but it's also like most of these people are just like they don't even get it. They don't even get why. So it's just you gotta feel bad for them sometimes.
slogans from the mainstream media, moral values and ideological principles from shows and movies, and suggestions from commercials, politicians, celebrities, and state-sponsored propaganda bypass the critical faculties and seep into the foundations of the mind. Over time, the typical television watcher is transformed into an opinionated robot. His or her evaluations
Right. So if you want to see the best example of this, ask your family at Thanksgiving their politics. And I say this as a joke, but how many people form their political opinions from their own study, their own research, their own retrospection, I guess you would say, or intuition versus the talking points that are given to them. And that's really the that's the crux of this whole video is that people are so influenced by the distraction, the entertainment, that they don't form their own opinions, that they don't even know who they really are, that they don't even know what they really want out of life. They made 14. Bro, it's also like, do you not feel bad for someone that's dumb enough to do that on video? Like, it's just like I feel bad that someone have to stoop so low to do that to make money that it's like, it's like, why even make fun of them at that point? It's just like, that's like so levels beyond desperation that I've ever experienced. I've never wanted to be famous that bad that I would do something that would I would lose respect for myself. Because I don't really care about what other people think about me. It's not my main concern, but it's what you think about yourself, man. Like, if you're sacrificing your values for the sake of other people liking you, then was it worth it? What good is having the whole world if you lose yourself? Always remember that.
of the world are mindless regurgitations of whatever has been absorbed from the TV. Nearly 70 years ago, the medical doctor Joost Meerlu warned of the hypnotizing dangers of television, dangers which now
Okay, and if you aren't skeptical of the things you're hearing, remember there was a time when doctors were saying smoking cigarettes for you. Okay, like these institutions are not past being oblivious to certain things. These institutions are not infallible. There are bad actors. There are people that are preserving their profits. There is always someone trying to win you over to their side, and just understand why they are. Understanding what they're trying to get you to do. Understand their bias. Understand their lens. Understand where they're coming from, and just be objective as you can with it, because we all form our own biases. We all form our own rigid structures, but it's the ability to occasionally get out of them that helps. What do you think about? First of all, I'm not informed enough to talk about that, but I don't like war. I think war is one of the dumbest things that human beings do. And you would think that like the technology we have would be able to create enough resources, enough food, enough sustenance, enough production for everyone in the world, but there's a handful of people that like to collect the resources, don't like to even give people a chance of doing things. So, it leads to war. All war is it's just misplaced aggression. It's misplaced anger. It's thinking that, oh, if we go take what this other person has, then we'll have enough. But the truth is that's never the case. Alexander the Great is the best example of why war solves nothing. Alexander the Great thought, you know what? I'm going to create this vast empire. I'm going to do something that no one's ever seen. And the truth about it is Alexander the Great, his ambition is what led to his death. His need for conquest is what led to his death. Had he stopped, and had he turned around and returned with his soldiers, he wouldn't have been killed. He wouldn't have been poisoned by his own men. But because he wanted more, because he could never satisfy this beast, because he could never satisfy this material need for conquest, for blood, for war, for riches, for whatever it was that he was seeking, because you can't ever sustain this, it's never going to end. You have to break the cycle of these ideas. These ideas aren't things that are productive. I mean, the only thing I would say, like, if there's a defensive war and like I have to protect my family, maybe. But even then, I feel like I'd be very skeptical. Like, I mean, if it tells you anything, it's like the billionaires' sons aren't the ones going to war. The rich people, their sons aren't the ones fighting in the trenches. Maybe there was a time, maybe in World War One, World War Two, where there was some union of the country, but like I'm not fighting and dying for a country that doesn't even uphold the basic principles that I was founded upon. What's up, Tejas? How's everything, man?
apply to computers, smartphones, and any other technology which turns the human being into a mesmerized spectator of a screen. No longer does man think in personal values, following his own conscience and ethical
Your
evaluations.
school results
He thinks
coming.
more and
Wish me
more in the
luck.
values brought to
Good
him by
luck,
mass
man.
media. Television keeps him in continual awe and
Just remember, it's not as big of a deal as um you make it out to be. Doesn't define you for good or for bad. Don't become one of those people that like gets all A's and you're like, I'm better than everyone else. I'm smart. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna change the world. But also don't be one of those people that gets bad grades and think that defines you. You know what? Just keep an open mind, and whatever it is that you want to do in the world, If you set your life in the right way, you can.
Passive fixation. Consciously, he may protest against these anonymous voices, but nevertheless, their suggestions ooze into his system. In Brave New World, suggestibility was heightened not just through the use of technology, but also with a superdrug called Soma. This
So this is the weirdest part about Brave New World. In 1932, Huxley is predicting the use of SSRIs. Or if people don't know what SSRIs are, antidepressant medication. So basically, people are getting their happiness from pills. And the moment someone starts to feel stressed out, the moment someone starts to feel sad, they take these pills, and sometimes they take them just to feel better. Sometimes they take them in to go into a coma-like state. And it's very weird because this is almost rivaled in today. Like when someone's sick, when someone's sad, when someone's anything, when there's any sort of imbalance in the body, you're given a pill. And I'm guessing at the time he was writing this, it was like an unheard of idea that like if you're unhappy, you're gonna find happiness in a medication.
systematic drugging of individuals for the benefit of the state was a main plank in the policy of the world controllers. Soma had no physiological drawbacks. When taken in small doses, it stimulated a sense of bliss, and in larger doses, it generated pleasant hallucinations and a refreshing.
So this is the case with modern medication. It usually doesn't have any physical, I guess there are if you take too much of it, but there's no physical um really. Like it's pretty much safe. It's pretty much reliable. You're pretty much gonna be fine. But it comes at the expense of your soul. It diminishes who you are as a human being. Have you ever had like I have a cousin that took Accutane, and like he took it as a kid, and he's like he still doesn't have the same energy he had when he was a child, and it's like it's almost depressing because there's a part of himself that isn't there. Like I don't know if you've ever known someone on ADHD medication, but like it changes them, man. It makes them different. It like pacifies them. It's like when you neuter a dog. That's the same kind of thing. It's like a chemical castration.
Sleep. It provided what Huxley called a holiday from reality, and most importantly, it made the citizens highly submissive. As well as tranquilizing, hallucinating, and stimulating, the soma of my fable had the power of heightening suggestibility, and so could be used to reinforce the effects of governmental propaganda. Today, not one soma-like superdrug, but a whole concoction of drugs including but not limited to alcohol.
So that's also a good point. There's the people that are medicated through a pharmacy, and there's the people that are self-medicated. People that they get home from work, they drink, they smoke, they do other kinds of things. And it's all like a escape. It's all like a an effort to return to the childlike state of innocence. The Freudian psychologist, I don't know if Freud said this himself, but the Freudian school of psychology says that heroin addiction or opium addiction is a return to your mother's womb. That's what it's seeking. And it's a similar thing. It's trying to numb the effects of life. It's trying to numb the discontent that you feel with your current situation. And I mean, the sad part about it is you'll never find what you're looking for in the bottom of a bottle. You'll never find it. It will never be there. And the more you rely on it, the more you need it. And the more you need it, the further you are from what you really need. What you really need is to push yourself in the right direction. What you really need is to find out who you really are, find out the characteristics about yourself that you've been hiding, and begin expressing those things. Because what you're doing is you're allowing parts of your soul to lie in the shadow and die. And the more these traits, the more these characteristics, the more these dreams, for lack of a better sense, the more these are in the shadow, the more they suffer, the more you're going to suffer.
Marijuana, psychotropics, opioids, and sleeping pills are readily used as a means of escaping reality. The widespread use of drugs in our day has socio-political ramifications.
I think in Fahrenheit 451 too, um, there's rampant drug use as well. I need to pick up that book. That's another dystopian novel that I'm gonna reread.
For a drugged-up society, just like a dumbed-down society, is more easily conditioned into servitude. The chemical dependent is not a politically vigilant person who is ready to defend liberty, and as Mirlu wrote, Any man who escapes from reality through the use of alcohol and drugs is no longer a free agent. He is no longer able to exert any voluntary control over his mind and his actions. Alcoholism and
Okay, so think about it this way. What goes up must come down. The escape you get from a bottle, the escape you get from is going to be mirrored by the stress you feel when you sober up, by the stress you feel on the other end of it. And thus you're going to chase even harder. And thus the next time you need even more. And when you think of the world as yin yang, I think it makes a lot of sense symbolically, and it makes a lot more sense why we succumb to the things that we succumb to.
drug addiction prepare the pattern of mental submission so beloved by the totalitarian brainwasher. Drugs can be used to make man a submissive and conforming being. The Society of Brave New World was also organized into a scientific caste system. Prenatal genetic engineering produced children destined to belong to one of 5 castes. The highest caste, Alpha, was made up of citizens genetically engineered to be intelligent, strong, and beautiful.
So this is Huxley predicting genetic engineering in the 30s again. And it's like, this is something we see today. And I'm not just talking about like the easy example with like test tube babies and in vitro fertilization and freezing eggs and all that sort of stuff, surrogacy, all those like I think those are if you can't have kids, that's a cool that's a nice option. That's modern medicine doing something good for once. But um at the same time you see the developments of like CRISPR gene editing and all of these new technologies, all of these GMO fruits, and it's only a matter of time before it gets done on animals and then on humans. And then we cease to become what humanity is. Humanity is imperfection striving for perfection. And that's the thing that AI will never understand. That's the thing that these social engineers will never understand is it's the imperfection of humans that make them great. If we were perfect beings, there would be no point. If we were born perfect, if we were born geniuses, if we were born with great physical capabilities, then what would it mean when you do a great athletic achievement? What would it mean when you make a great scientific discovery? It means absolutely jack shit if you're born perfect. But it's the imperfections that we're born with that give everything the depth. And this is what you see today in like modern Hollywood. Like modern Hollywood sucks. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why modern Hollywood sucks. Maybe it's like the marketing, maybe it's they don't understand their demographics. But like I think the number one reason is they can't write a compelling character because they're not willing to be vulnerable. They're not willing to be wrong. They're not willing to write someone in a manner that makes them look bad, that makes them look weak. And until they can face this reality, then they'll never fix these things. But this is what gives purpose to life. This is what gives everything meaning. The ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. And the more you can understand this idea, the more you understand that like whatever you're going through right now doesn't matter as long as it propels you to the next thing. Like if you take what you're going through right now and you take this strength, you take this challenge, and then the next time something happens, you're like, you know what? Maybe this is a little too hard for me, but I also did this and I thought this was a little too hard for me. And it's the never ending climb of that mountain. That's scary to think about. I said a lot of things. What was it?
Beautiful. The lowest caste, the Epsilons, were short, ugly, stupid, and treated as slaves. Each of the castes was forbidden to intermingle. Is a scientific caste system possible today? While the
Yeah,
widespread
it
use of
is.
prenatal genetic engineering may not be on the near horizon, postnatal genetic engineering and the technological augmentation
I think the prenatal has already started. It's just I think China's already trying to do it.
of the brain and body is in its initial stages. We are at the beginning of a fateful era in which man may merge with machine, and the result could be the formation of a 2-tiered scientific caste system. There will be a caste of human beings who welcome the merger with technology in the expectation of transcending biological limitations, and there will be an all-too-human caste composed of people who resist the merger with technology.
Gene editing,
What restrictions will
dude, it's already here. It's, the thing is, I need you to understand this about all of these Orwellian inventions. They will not be used for Machiavellian purposes. They will be used in the most stupid way possible. it will be to collect data on you and sell you a Toyota. That's that's literally the reality of all of these inventions. I mean, maybe social media, maybe government tracking, maybe there's some argument to that, but like the vast majority of social media is literally just selling you the stupidest advertisements you've ever seen. And it's like we have all of this advanced technology, we could do all these great things, and this is what we decide to do. So I'm not afraid of anything. I just think it's like it's gonna be used in the dumbest and least effective way possible, and understand that like the people in charge are not geniuses, they're not smart, they don't think at all. So like do not be afraid of these people. These people are just morons. And like the less you the less energy you put to these ideas, the less you think about these things, the better your life is. If the world ends tomorrow, who gives a fuck? I don't care. And just go with that mindset. Like I'm gonna live my life in the way I want to live it till I stop living. And if you embody this idea, nothing else matters. It's what's in the news doesn't matter. What's on social media doesn't matter. What's going on in your life doesn't matter. I'm going to try to spend as much of my life doing things I love as I possibly can, and everything else will follow.
Will be placed on those in this latter caste? What surveillance and control will be possible on those who accept technological augmentations? What will be the carrots on a stick to entice people to transition into a transhumanist era? Time will tell. The world of tomorrow will witness a tremendous battle between technology and psychology. It will be a fight of technology versus nature, of systematic conditioning versus creative spontaneity. If Huxley's predictions are coming true, what can be done about it? Perhaps nothing needs to be done. Perhaps
Dude, if they open a Jurassic Park, you should definitely go. Nothing, I don't know how many movies there were, but nothing bad can happen, I swear.
the Brave New World totalitarianism which Huxley warned of is not feasible in the long term, not as stable as he thought. Perhaps this form of social order is destined to crumble under its own oppressive weight. But perhaps Huxley was right. With enough advances in science and technology, a brave new world order can be achieved. And once fully instituted, this will be the final revolution. Human beings will be born and bred in conditions of tech.
I think Huxley is definitely right because people used to complain about Easy Pass being able to track your location through what um exit you use, what exits you pay for, and now they carry around cell phones. It's like if you're really worried about these levels of controls, like it's over, man. It's not. You're already cooked, man.
Technocratic servitude that they will not challenge or resist, because it will be a servitude that most of them love and defend. If this should turn out to be the case, Huxley's final words from Brave New World Revisited will prove prescient. Perhaps the forces that now menace freedom are too strong to be resisted for very long. It is still our duty to do whatever we can to resist them.
Damn. It is still our duty to do whatever we can to resist them. That's a pretty good video. Should subscribe to these guys to see it. How long is? Okay, so there's no way I can do another video. Um, I've been streaming for like 48 minutes. I'm kind of tired. I had a long day, but I promise I'm gonna stream for a lot longer tomorrow. Hopefully I see you guys here. Um, yeah, I need to build up my stamina again. I used to be able to do like 5 hour streams, but I don't know. I don't know if I was burnt out for the longest time. I don't know if um I haven't been sleeping or whatever, but like yeah, we're gonna get back to longer streams. It's gonna be a thing. Hold me to that, and if I don't stay consistent with that, like just bully me until I stream for like an entire night. But with that said, I love you guys so much. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your night.